Hi and welcome to Cycle Maintenance Academy. My name is Arek and today I have very special guests from Rohloff and Shand. It's Stewart Stabik, he's an international sales manager, and Russell Cashmore, who's a general manager at Shand Bikes. Hi Stuart.
Hi.
Can you tell me a little bit about hub gears?
Yeah, hub gears have been around for a very long time. They predate the derailleur system most of us are used to. Basic idea is that instead of, as we used to now with the derailleur system, all the parts hanging off the edge, they used to be enclosed in a hub body. So they were detached from outside influences such as dirt, snow, ice, etc. Very poorly efficient in the past. Obviously, times move on. They've increased efficiency, and certain hubs, such as the Speedhub, are now up there with derailleur systems in line with efficiency. But the basic idea is, as I said, everything's contained inside the hub shell itself. Because of that, we're able to have a very durable system. Most of the time, you're talking then a single chain line, so you're reducing wear on the external components. And it became very popular. I'm sure most of your customers already know the brand Sturmy Archer from the 60s and 70s. Yes. The basic principle hasn't changed, but there are also different types. We have planetary gear systems, such as the Sturmy Archer, such as Rohloff, such as Shimano Alpine system. We also have then infinitely variable systems, such as those from NBOLO. So a hub gear may look like a hub gear, but what's actually inside differs quite substantially sometimes.
Okay, so can you tell us what is so special about Rohloff hubs?
Yes, so Rohloff hubs took the basics of a planetary gear system. So customers understand how it is. You have a sun gear in the middle of the hub, and then you have planet gears, 3 or 4 usually around the outside. Either you allow that central sun to rotate, and then the 3 gears rotate with it as a unit, or you hold it fixed, and those planet gears have to rotate around the sun, and that gives us 2 different ratios. Depending on how many of those systems you have laterally next to each other, you get more gears or fewer gears. The Speedhub is able to create 14 gears. So it was initially designed as an alternative to the 27-speed mountain bike system. Of course, as most riders know, you don't have 27 real gears. Those are shifting possibilities. You know, if the chain's crooked, you're going to have doublets, triplets in there. Well, the Speedhub took those 14 real gears, put them all inside a hub. All the benefits of a hub gear, but with that wide range that we need nowadays that we used to with a derailleur system.
Okay, and Russell, can you tell me why, if hub gears are so good, why are not there on every single bike?
I think let's talk with the positives rather than the limitations. Okay. With planetary gear systems, Rohloff, Sturmy Archer, obviously the hubs, it's the hub. We've always had it in the hub, and we use a single speed chain or a belt drive or so much. So we're kind of limited to where we go and what we do with hubs and what people want. And when the derailleur system got launched, weight. I think weight's one of the biggest questions that everyone's got on their minds. You know, the systems were regrettably quite heavy weight. The derailleur systems are road bike, lightweight. As the years have gone by, we wanted stuff that's more robust, more stronger, and the compromise will be weight. But then the other compromise, or is the one? Well, derailleur, oil, muck, dirt. Let's go and clean the sprockets out. Oh, hub bodies, springs, braking. So, of course, it's open the areas. And cartridge bearings are great, but that's the internal size of normal hubs. So let's just get all the gears in there as well and just revolutionise what was done. But, of course, derailleur from the 60s took such a seat where Sturmy Archer, for instance, would kind of fade away. Rohloff was 20 years later, to a degree, that would start to come and go, hang on, why do we leave that? So gear ratios. So I think Stewart's put the whys on that is the 14 gears based over a mountain bike spread. And actually for us as a bike manufacturer, frame manufacturer, we've got the customers now that certainly don't want to clean chains. It's not just about that though, it's about the reliability. For me as a mechanic, born and bred, I've done my fair share of races around the world, luckily enough, and it's just such are we mechanics or are we bike cleaners? And it's hand in hand, isn't it? Do you know what I mean? So with this, it's just an eye-opener. And I think it's the gear range. But also, you bed these in. We're going back to, prehistoric times as far as the normal derailleur gear. We get on it and it works. We've got electronic, Di2, AXS, and it's all finger at touch, done there and crisp. But are you going to go and ride a world fully packed up bike, adventure bike around the world with a derailleur system? Of course you can. Are you going to get problems? Oh yes. And you've certainly got to do maintenance on it. Now I'm not saying that this is maintenance free, but it is 99% maintenance friendly. It's not an oil bath system. It has oil in it to lubricate because it's a mechanical moving thing. So there's not a lot going on while the internal parts working. Shand, we've been fitting these for, I think it's coming up to over 15 years, if not 20 now. And we use a combined system with a belt, but we're happy to build with a chain. But a chain is a chain. Again, it can wear quicker than now the new belts, and I think e-bikes have helped the belt system and Rohloff because the strength of this particular hub, and it's not just because we sell them and they're our best seller. They're our best seller because of a reason, because the miles we get out of this compared to a drive chain of an external system is colossal. It takes 1,000 kilometres to just bed it in. Well, we get on a bike and we use it, and 3,000 miles later we're saying to a guy, oh, your cassette's a bit worn out. Whoa! And that doesn't happen with these. So it's certainly a category of people I realise that will find it hard to look at something and go backwards. But the limitations, I think more are now with e-bikes than they have ever been with a normal bike. I'll go through, if you're okay in a minute, just how chains tension and belts tension, and I think that's probably coming on to the limitations of people. So we build a bike that's a separable frame, so the rear dropout has a section that splits, which I think we'll do in a separate video with you. So you put the belt in, because the belt's a carbon fibre belt and it's single-stranded, so it's non-splittable. There is companies that do split belts out there, but again, you're then interrupting the strength of the belt, in my own opinion. So we stick with Gates Carbon Belt Drive. They're a 60-year-old company, been doing belts for all kinds of things over the years. So they're pretty good. So you have to have this splittable frame to put the belt on, and it's, to me, a dream combination made in heaven for Rohloff, because to me the chain was almost like you've got the bomb-proof 14-geared, massively ranged gear that's 99% mechanically non-touchable for people, and obviously we're all mechanics, so we don't mind, but 80% of people out there aren't, so they want to leave and forget, So at the end of the day, with the bells, there's no oil. You just clean it with water. So for us as a brand, it was the best way to go. We get, crikey, out of our bike sales a year, 1 or 2 people want a chain. We're selling over 200 bikes a year, custom built. So it's not a percentage on that. And we've got customers now that have gone back to belt from the chain, because chains will still, we always say wear, but we know stretch. Well, no, it's wear. The circular point of a chain is the bit that wears, that causes the so-called stretch. So that doesn't happen with the belt. They stay static. So again, in probably another video, we would show you tension. So back to your original, why hasn't everybody got them? So I think the limitations come from frame builders and mass production, because then you're going into tolerances and so many other areas. So at the moment, until the manufacturing society and the mass production gets better, that's probably where we'd find the struggle. Cost effectiveness, this isn't a cheap item. So again, we're talking about for UK wise, kind of £1,300 to more for the system. So we understand that's already a premium price compared to most people. But again, so the bikes have got to somehow get tension on the chain. So Shand, we've created our own eccentric bottom bracket. We make it in-house. It's made behind me when I'm building the bikes. We've used that for 7 years without any issues at all. And that has a rotational degree of 8mm. So we have to put the right size belt on to take the slack of the belt up. But that would be exactly the same for a chain. So we put the chain on, we'll do the closest link, and then we finish that off by turning the eccentric bottom bracket to take up the tension. With other firms, generally, they'll use a horizontal dropout. So that's quite in some people's eyes, a very dated kind of thing. But it's the chain tension, which is, if anything, probably why we've stepped into that. We've moved away from that with Duralia, but actually not as long ago as you think, because even Duralia wheels were on a horizontal, then a semi-horizontal degree, and it's only probably 80s onwards that we started to mass go into the vertical dropout. So it's the vertical dropout versus the horizontal one that probably made the Duralia. And then we've got breakable rear hangers. We all love them. So we've all been down that road. So of course, for us as a brand, we're producing a bike with Rohloff. Back to the maintenance friendly. Everything needs to be maintained to a degree, but on average, this is 100% better than most Duralia systems on the market. Someone can always come and argue with me if they've got something to prove, but customers come to us purely because of the Rohloff system. Most of our customer base is generally this, and we've just formulated a very nice, quiet system that works. And the gear range is just, it's great. So I delivered a Bahuki Wednesday to a customer, 67-year-old, retired, wants to go around the world, hasn't got the strength, but he's going fully loaded. So the gear ratio, which will be a question that Stewart can help me with in a minute, it was massive. And one thing that I've got no issue with is low gears on these things. They'll blast most people out the park. Higher gear range to have both, obviously always is difficult, but most of our customers will go for a medium ratio gear, compromising of the belt as well, because you just wash it off with water. You can do the service before you go and do whatever adventure you want to on the hub, and they don't look back. So to me, yes, I think it's the affordability and a horizontal dropout scenario that probably is the bit that's the hurdle. E-bikes though, thank you very much, because they're strong enough to take the newtons on e-bikes, and the belts are. Chain drive systems on e-bikes are the probably biggest suffering components at the moment. So there's certainly been a helping hand by the e-bike community for certainly Rohloff and belt drive. As a brand, we haven't entered into that yet, but our first e-bike when we do one will automatically have a Rohloff. So we're stuck to central motor rather than a rear hub motor. But don't get me onto that. I'm not a fan of rear hub motors purely because I'm a wheel builder. So most people looking at your stuff will understand that.
So can you tell us, when are you planning to introduce an electric bike in your range?
I mean, we've had stuff on the burner for 5 years now. I think for me and the size of company we are, and we're dealing with people that have kind of researched Rohloff for years. Our average customer is not a spontaneous, I want to have one of yours. We're custom builders. We do custom hubs almost to a degree for the UK market. So the e-bike one, we need the right fits. One of the main things as well that we need to partnership with Rohloff to allow who they're dealing with going further with their electronic shift system, and that's all coming out very, very soon. So we will look at probably the next 2 years to bring our first prototype out. And people might say that's too late. No, not really, because we'll get it right. We're not people that are going to go down the development route of letting the customer do the development for us. And again, mechanics will know exactly what I'm on about when it comes to certain brands doing that. Let the customer try the product. No, it's got to work. Absolutely.
And Stewart, Russell mentioned that the hubs, internal geared hubs, are 99% maintenance free.
Yes.
However, do they have to be serviced?
They all have to be maintained, serviced in one way or another. Depending on the brand, there'll be different ways of doing that. There'll be different forms of lubrication. Some brands like to say lubricated or for life. Or Jaguar tried that with their automotive gearboxes at one point. Life is an interesting phrase. I believe a lifespan of a bicycle has been declared at 20,000 kilometers, I believe. So life isn't life as most consumers expect it. Coming to the Speedhub, we have 25 millilitres of oil inside that hub. This gets obviously mixed around all the components, similar to the water in a washing machine. That needs to be changed once a year or every 5,000 kilometres, whichever comes first. The reason is not as one would expect from, again, automotive industry. It's not because there's swarf, that there's a load of particles that worn off that are floating around in the oil. With the Speedhub, the reason is because the hub is not 100% sealed. The seals themselves have a dual function, and they act as a breather. So if you imagine taking a bicycle out of a cold garage, riding on a hot day, the air inside's going to warm up, it's going to swell up, it needs to balance somehow. And that'll escape then out of the seals because we don't have a top or a bottom because the hub's rotating, so there's nowhere else to put the breather function. Now, over the course of the year, we don't know how much oil has possibly been lost through this breathing action. We also don't know how much moisture has penetrated the gear unit as it sucks the air in. So the oil change is literally there to make sure that we haven't lost so much oil that parts are going to start corroding, and we haven't received so much moisture that it's causing the oil to emulsify and create possible shifting issues.
And that's still servicing every 20,000 miles, replacing the oil every 5,000 miles. That's still such a huge advantage for the internal geared hub compared to derailleur systems, which has to be maintained, cleaned, lubricated continuously.
Yeah, I mean, again, your viewers must have experienced in the past. I don't know how many hours they've spent cleaning the dog hair and grass out between every sprocket of a cassette. It's something we've all experienced, I believe. It's not a fun job. You know, you're caked in dirt, the floor's caked in dirt, your better half, your partner's moaning at you because you can't clean up correctly. The whole house stinks of degreaser. It's not a thankful task. So if we can avoid that, hey, awesome.
And it's easy to make a mistake as well, so a lot of cyclists put loads of oil, creating cutting paste, and instead of helping, actually making things worse.
Yes.
So obviously having a system like that with the carbon belt, it makes it works.
Yeah, getting close to that maintenance-free bicycle is such an important task. We're all trying to be more sustainable, we're all trying to be more environmentally conscious, so we've got a lot of people out there new to bicycles. It was never really a hobby, but it's their transport nowadays, it's their car, they're doing their bit for the environment, and you need something reliable. You need to be able to jump on that bike in the morning and know you're going to meet your 8 a.m. Meeting without any issues, or you need to make sure that you're going to be able to get to your hotel if you're on tour. You know, the modern bicycles are chasing that 0 gram lightweight bike and forgetting that in the real world we don't have a brand new transmission for every race. We don't have a brand new frame every year. You know, parts need to be paid for. That takes time. Therefore, even if we wanted a new bike, it's rare that most of us have a new one that often. So having something reliable that's actually going to be there, function as it's supposed to, and allow you to concentrate on enjoying the ride, that's what we all need, really, isn't it?
And the last question, based on the technology and durability, how do you see the future of internal gear hubs like Rohloff?
It's difficult to say. The market's been up and down and experiencing a bit of variation in the previous years. One thing's for certain, e-bikes are here to stay. The motors are getting more and more powerful. There's more and more torque that the gear systems need to cope with. Rohloff are lucky enough to be one of the manufacturers out there that can cope with the most amount of torque. We've got various different laws, legislations coming in different cities around the world where they're going to be combustion engine free. There's going to be a lot of last mile delivery solutions, companies turning to bicycles as a way to get the packages from the hub on the city outskirts into the city centres. So cargo bikes and e-bikes, they're really pushing the development of gear systems to the limit to make sure that these companies, whereby we're talking, four-figure, loss if that product isn't durable enough and it's off the road for one day. Reducing downtime is the number one thing at the moment. So I think we're going to be seeing more and more people turning to hub gears, which are able to take those high torques. Potentially, the way I see it, electronic integrated shifting systems, because you need to find a way to drop motor torque during a shift in order to preserve the longevity of those components. So I think that's sort of the direction the market's going to be going. I don't know what you think, Russell.
Yeah, I agree. I think, one of our biggest questions is purely down to, because obviously as a brand we've kind of nailed what we do independently with the belts and the roll-offs. It's electric shifting. For us, it's about the compatibility of all. We're quite lucky. We do a Shimano version, a SRAM version, and the Rohloff version. And we speak to people that, we didn't know Rohloff works with STIs, or, yep, absolutely. There's stuff you've got to do, but it's not rocket science. So that's why it's great when we team up with Rohloff. They're not you can't, no. Well, no, we're just using the hub. It's just how you get it to shift. But electronic shifting, will allow us to, it's just that completely like anything you're going to be able to use it on. So drop bar, and we've got obviously some pretty funky bars going out. And one of our restrictions in the past has been, especially gravel handlebars with low reaches and so forth, is that we can't use the standard flat bar shifter that Rohloff produce. So there's a couple of other companies out there that do other ones that allow you to put a grip shifter on a drop bar, but at the end of the day, why? You can use a SRAM shifter, you can use a Shimano shifter. You've got to use a conversion kit. Honestly, it's not rocket science, and that's what we've always offered it. We do it, and you can have either brake on there. So for us, it's about that bit button, but the battery's going to have to come in somewhere. So it's like, okay, so how do we? So I think that's the next evolution. It's just that once that electric's out and done, which is going to be on the horizon, I don't think either of us are allowed to tell you when on that, but it's on the horizon, and that's pretty important, even for our customers, because we'll deal with, like the gentleman, 67, that would have been, I'll probably go for electric, because the battery size will be pretty small, I like DI2, we're not talking stupid stuff. We at Shand, if time capacity was there, we'd love to do a dynamo one that charges a small battery, so there is no charging. So when you're not running your GPS or so forth, but we'll get over the hurdle first of getting an electronic shifter system, and once that's there, I think even that will open the market up even more, to be honest with you.
That's something that I will definitely will be looking forward to talk to you about next time. So thank you very much, Russell. Thank you very much, Stewart. And thanks very much for watching. And if you enjoyed this video and would like to see more content like this one, then don't forget to subscribe, like the video and sharing it with your friends. Thanks very much. and see you soon.